Hi there. I thought I'd chip into the discourse moving into 2025. I'm thinking more about how important it is for regular perspectives and grounded input into discussion online, and how it's actually important for you to start to output. A lot of us probably input a lot, but for a few reasons it might be a good idea for you to output. We're currently in the midst of a highly fractured landscape, and the role and actions of the individual has now become increasingly more significant. It's more clear that we actually are the media now, and the power to disseminate truth and foster understanding rests in the collective hands of ordinary people. The tools of online discourse, while imperfect and rife with misinformation, offer an unprecedented opportunity to bypass gatekeepers and share knowledge directly. Each person becomes a node in a vast decentralized network of information, and in such a system, grassroots communication isn't merely beneficial, it is essential for countering the increasingly authoritarian undertones of modern governance and corporate overreach. We've got to create in the column or node of the lens that you can provide most value in. It's important to note that you can't just output about any old thing. You have a curated, unique, and specific information set. Some insight that you've been attracted to, trained in, indulged in, or have an affinity for. Your node in the network matters because it fits in as part of the whole of a decentralized information system. Creativity is now not just a personal pursuit, it is the cornerstone of our shared future. We live in a world saturated with information, an unending stream of inputs that captures our attention and shapes our worldview. Social media, podcasts, articles, blogs, Reddit threads, forums, each demands a larger sliver of our cognitive bandwidth, pulling us into a black box of consumption. This absorption is not inherently bad. It is in fact vital to remain informed in a world where traditional channels of information are increasingly suspect. The trust once placed in mainstream narratives has eroded, replaced by skepticism as the picture of global events they present becomes murkier and more contrived. This shift is not accidental. Historical programs like Project Mockingbird, designed to control narratives through media infiltration, show how manipulation of public perception is not a distant authoritarian tactic, but an active undercurrent, even in democratic societies. Initiated by the CIA during the Cold War, Project Mockingbird placed agents within major media outlets to influence public opinion and ensure alignment with specific geopolitical goals. While officially disbanded, the children of similar programs linger, suggesting that the tools of narrative control have only grown more sophisticated. This sort of control is a given for traditional media channels, but it's growing clearer that some elements of control are leaking into the content creation sphere of individuals. This control can take many forms in the creation space, but algorithmic promotion or demotion and mechanics of demonetization seem to be the most effective method of propping up a certain narrative or leaving another to sit in the servers with no viewership. This even affects well-established creators. Today, such control is no longer be limited to government agencies, but also rests in the hands of private entities, conglomerates, and so-called elites who wield influence for their own opaque agendas. The result is a world where narratives are not just curated, but actively engineered, leaving populations unsure of what to believe or how to act. It becomes increasingly apparent that someone, somewhere, benefits from this manufactured chaos, whether through social disarray, economic gain, or the prelude to conflict. Narrative control is not just a domestic concern. Digital interconnectedness has enabled external forces to meddle in political and cultural landscapes of nations far from their own borders. Election interference, disinformation campaigns, and the deliberate sowing of social discord serve as tools for undermining trust and cohesion. These tactics, whether deployed by state actors or private organisations, raises the question, who truly benefits from a divided and distracted society? The answer often lies in the upward redistribution of wealth and power, facilitated by a fractured populace, too consumed by internal strife to notice. This is where output becomes not just a tool, but a lifeline. The act of creation, whether it's writing a blog, recording a podcast, or crafting art, is a way of processing the chaos and injecting clarity into an otherwise murky world, not just for yourself, but for others. It's a solution to the disempowering effects of constant consumption, a means of reclaiming agency in a time where attention itself is a commodity. Output resists the forces that would prefer us passive, disengaged, and overwhelmed. Obstacles to this are immense. The digital age encourages us to dwell in virtual spaces, trading the tactile and the immediate for curated simulations. Virtual spaces promise connection, but often delivers isolation, while endless screen time erodes attention spans and undermines mental health. Digital connection's potential has not only transformed entertainment, but redefined social interaction, often for the worse. It is a double-edged sword. While it can foster empathy through shared experiences and create opportunities for education, it also risks reducing human connection to algorithmically mediated interactions. Hours spent in virtual landscapes pull individuals away from the physical, from real touch, and from real human relationships. The reliance on virtual spaces threatens to hollow out our sense of self and diminish our capacity to engage meaningfully with reality. The consequences are not just personal, but societal. As input grows overwhelming, the temptation to disengage entirely becomes stronger. This is precisely the moment where output matters most. Every blog post, every song, every shared perspective becomes a beacon of agency, a reminder that we are not just products of the systems we inhabit, but creators capable of reshaping them. Starting small is not just acceptable, it is vital. Whether you have an audience of 5 or 5,000, what matters is that you are contributing, pushing back against a tide of apathy with a steady drip of intention. Output is not without its challenges. Social media's curated realities place immense pressure on individuals to perform rather than express authentically. The polished, idealized lives presented online can stifle genuine output, making creators second-guess their contributions before they've even begun. Overcoming this barrier requires not just courage, but a willingness to accept imperfection as part of the process. It requires recognizing that output in any form is valuable precisely because it disrupts the status quo. A decentralized flow of information takes one foot forward in dissociating from traditional power structures. Blockchain technologies, open source platforms, and collaborative networks offer ways to share knowledge and build trust without relying on centralized authorities. Yet, these systems depend entirely on participation. Each individual lens, whether philosophical, political, artistic, or economic, adds to the mosaic, creating a fuller picture of the challenges and opportunities we face. The strength of such systems lies in their diversity and in their collective resilience. Creativity now essentially becomes a form of stewardship. It is through creative thinking and collaborative effort that solutions to these pressing challenges can emerge. Art, writing, and innovation are not just expressions of the self, they are tools for reimagining systems, fostering empathy, and creating action. This reimagining extends to our philosophical hang-ups. Questions of identity, purpose, and authenticity have always plagued humanity, but they take on new urgency in a digital age that blurs the lines between who we are and who we present ourselves to be. The tension between individuality and conformity, between the inner self and the external world, lies at the heart of this. Output offers a way to bridge this gap, to articulate what everything means to be human in an era that is often dehumanizing. The choices we make, stories told, and creations shared will define the path forward. Will we allow ourselves to be consumed by the distractions of mindless virtual worlds and endless non-beneficial input? Or will we use these tools to create something meaningful? The answer lies not in the technology itself, but in how we choose to engage with it. With With all that said, you probably have something you're passionate about, something that seems important to you. Maybe it's nothing significant, but it could be something that you think another might find helpful. There's a lot going on in 2025, a lot of political changes in large countries, wars popping up here and there, and a pretty divided worldview coming from multiple sides of the political aisles. A lot of our ideas for the future now don't even seem to fit with the so-called old guard's left or right agenda. I don't know how things will develop into the future, but it seems like a time that regular voices getting heard more in the online sphere might be a positive thing. Nobody's out listening to a crier in the streets. Podcasts and online content seem to be the future. So, input what you can and be a node on the information wheel. It might help someone. Thanks for listening.